We interrupt this program to bring you an important Wayfair message. Wayfair's got style tips for every home. This is Nicole Byer, helping you make those rooms flyer. Today's style tip: when it comes to making a statement, treat bold patterns like neutrals. Go wild! Like an untamed animal print area rug under a rustic farmhouse table from Wayfair.com. Ooh, fierce! This has been your Wayfair style tip to keep those interiors superior.
Wayfair, every style, every home.
Hello, it is Ryan, and I was on a flight the other day playing one of my favorite social spin slot games on ChumbaCasino.com. I looked over at the person sitting next to me, and you know what they were doing? They were also playing Chumba Casino. Everybody's loving having fun with it. Chumba Casino is home to hundreds of casino-style games that you can play for free anytime, anywhere. So sign up now at ChumbaCasino.com to claim your free welcome bonus. That's ChumbaCasino.com and live the Chumba life.
Sponsored by Chumba Casino.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 21 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
Welcome to Ghostly.
Are the Danvers State Hospital grounds haunted?
Ghostly is your bi-weekly dose of the paranormal. We unearth chilling ghost stories and examine the evidence with a critical eye. Rebecca hunts down the legends while I, your friendly neighborhood skeptic, poke holes in her theories. In the end, you, the listener, get to decide, is it genuine haunting or just made up? Click the subscribe button or follow button to always be in the loop of new spooky episodes. And as always, we're your host. I'm Pat.
And I'm Rebecca.
So, okay, we're going to be talking about the Danvers State Hospital today. I want to call it a hotel.
I was just going to say, I'm sure at the beginning they told people it was going to be like a hotel.
Well, I mean, so here's a little sneak peek into what you're going to hear in this episode. So just like a lot of these places, it started off with the best of intentions. They had a clear path to what they wanted to do, but then there's a big overcrowding issue that happens to every single one of these places. I guess they didn't expect as many people to have mental illness. They thought it was like a fluke thing, and turns out almost everybody has some degree of mental illness. But
I was going to say, yeah.
Yeah, and it really came to a head in around the Civil War time, you know, when a lot of bad things were happening in the country. And so, you know, overcrowding and then new methods that came out were not exactly the most humane. Stuff happens, you know, it's got a dark history. Let me just say, with the best of intentions, though, but dark history in the middle there.
Gotcha. Well, and on the ghostly side of things,
ding, ding, ding,
ding, ding, ding. No, any place where a lot of dark things happened, right, will often tend to lead to dark things. We have a spirit in the attic, which I just think is interesting for a state hospital. And then also, we've got EVPs. We've got a mysterious fire.
Ooh, fire.
Yeah. So a lot of really creepy things. And we'll talk too about this place, or at least I'm kind of added this in, is a little bit more in popular culture. It was the site where they filmed one of the spookiest movies I've ever seen.
So that's a movie that you saw.
Yes.
I had not heard of this movie, but
one of the scariest ever.
Let me just say, I am horror and paranormal adjacent, right? I know about some stuff because of, you know, what we do here. Mm-hmm. But because I don't watch horror movies that often, because you know what, they don't scare me the same way it scares other people. Probably because I'm a skeptic, so that would help with that. But yeah, so Rebecca is our resident horror fan.
Yeah, we were hanging out with some other people the other night, and immediately this one other person that we were hanging out with likes horror movies, and we can just go on. It's a deep dive. It's always fun.
Yeah. All right, so this is the part where we would do a shout out on Ghostly. There are 2 ways to get a shout out on Ghostly. The first way is to give us a review on Apple Podcast. The reason why we always ask you guys for this is because the more reviews that you get, the more people start to notice you on Apple Podcast. And we have a fair amount of reviews, but we always are looking for more that exposes us to new audiences. So that's what we want to do. So we prefer those 5-star reviews because then people listen because they hear it's good. But we'll take the 1 stars too because people listen because it's bad. Then
there you go.
The second way is to become a member on Patreon. Just go to ghostlypodcast.com and click on Patreon in the menu bar. We have a lot of different tiers to choose from. This is not an ad, so we're just going to keep on going. We do not have any reviews or any shout outs to give today.
No, but again, check us out. Lots of good stuff on Patreon.
Yes.
Guess what, though? We do have some listener mail.
We do?
Yeah, we do.
Okay.
And in fact, we've got listener mail for a few weeks here.
Okay, but that still shouldn't stop you from sending in your listener mail.
Oh, of course not. Oh, my gosh. It's just a few weeks, and it's very exciting to have it, but we definitely need more. Oh, my goodness.
We went months without listener mail.
Really
that feels
did.
weird.
It really did feel weird.
It's like, hello, are you guys out there still?
So yes, and we'll talk about how you can send us that once we read this week's. But
smoke signal.
I do want to mention that we did get one in the mail, which usually takes priority, except that we got a comment about the episode we just finished. So I want to do that one first. But I am very excited about the one we got in the mail. It's long.
Yeah. Well, how
looks great.
So when they do a comment on like an episode, how are they commenting? Where are they commenting?
So
at?
in this case, this comment came because this person voted.
Oh.
When you vote, you have a place to put a comment. So if you're listening to this episode today and you're thinking, well, but I've got something to say about this episode.
Yeah.
Please go to ghostlypodcast.com/polls and vote.
And then we might read
leave
it on
a comment.
Here.
Yeah, exactly.
So maybe a third way to get a shout out.
There it is. So this is from Kim. And by the way, she voted yes, that it's haunted and gave it a 10, which I'm not surprised based on this story. All right. So her comment was, I believe it is haunted because we have stayed there a few times. And if you stay in certain areas of the hotel, it gets very noisy at night. You can hear a lot of footsteps like shoes walking on a wooden floor outside of our room. The hallways upstairs were carpeted. Plus, it sounded like it was during the day with a lot of people's voices talking in the distance, except it was in the middle of the night.
Wow.
We also had wooden shutters in our room, and they sounded like they were being opened and shut at night, but always stayed closed. And you know what? Thank you for sending this in, Kim, because this is a very common thing that I read about when it came to the Menger Hotel. There was just a lot of the footsteps, people talking, all of that in the middle of the night. So you know what? It aligns.
Yeah. So I do want to...
Ryan Seacrest here. When you have a busy schedule, it's important to maximize your downtime. One of the best ways to do that is by going to ChumbaCasino.com. Chumba Casino has all your favorite social casino games like spin slots, bingo, and solitaire that you can play for free for a chance to redeem some serious prizes. So hop on to ChumbaCasino.com now and live the Chumba life. Sponsored by Chumba Casino.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 21 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
Give Kim a shout out, especially because she does have her own show.
Yes.
And it is called The Skeptic Psychic, right?
Yes.
Which is a really good show.
Yeah,
we've been on it once. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think it's a really good show. It's a really good concept for a show. So if you're in the market for a new podcast to listen to, go ahead and check that out. Mm-hmm. So how can they, besides leaving a comment, which is a new way that we're exposing people to being able to get shout outs, how else can they get their story read?
Absolutely. You can send us an email at info@ghostlypodcast.com or use the contact us form on ghostlypodcast.com. Just scroll to the bottom.
Yeah.
You'll see all that. And what else are they going to see at the bottom there?
Yeah. So, like the one that Rebecca is teasing for next week, next episode,
There
let's
it
say
is.
that. Somebody sent it to P.O. Box number 264, Geneva, Illinois, 60134 in the physical mail.
Yes.
Remember, we still have post offices and stuff.
We do.
And and then we waited a couple of weeks because we don't go there very often, but we picked it up and we have mail.
Yeah, we got mail. It was really great. And also, you can, of course, always find us on social media at Ghostly Podcast, Instagram, Facebook, all the socials. And of course, you can always slide into our DMs with your stories as well.
Yeah. And I will say that this episode was one of our VIP Patreon requests.
Yes.
By Andrew.
Yes.
Which he's a skeptic, but he wanted this episode. So just so you know.
So yes, thank you, Andrew. And I'll say we had a different episode planned for this week, but when a VIP Patreon gives us a suggestion that is a good one, that's what we're putting up.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so we're going to skip the polls because this is
no, definitely not.
But we need to just skip them.
No, we can't do that.
Okay.
These people make an effort, so we got to share the results, right?
Do. Okay.
All right. So in our last episode, as I mentioned, we talked about the Menger Hotel in San Antonio, Texas.
Yeah, we did.
And as a preview, with Kim's vote, I think, we had yes, 57.8% and no, 42.2%.
With an overall rating of 4.7, that is pretty high, probably the highest in the last few months.
Yeah.
So
this place is pretty haunted.
I disagree, but anyways.
All right. So now, of course, let's read a ghost story.
Ooh, you have a ghost story?
I have a ghost story.
Okay.
It's time for a spooky tale from Rebecca.
I didn't know what haunted meant until I lived at Danvers. I was just a kid when my father took the job. Hospital administrator. That meant we lived on the grounds in a big old brick house attached to the main asylum. To me, it was normal. I mean, weird, yeah, but normal. The place was always a little too quiet. Even the wind felt off, like it blew against you no matter which way you faced. My favorite place to play was the attic. My brother, sister, and I used to drag toys up there and pretend it was a castle or a pirate ship. One afternoon, we were playing hide and seek. I had the perfect spot behind some dusty boxes in a far corner. That's when I saw her. An old woman, hunched over, standing completely still. Her skin was gray, her eyes cloudy, lifeless, and they were locked on me. The worst part? She was scowling, like I had just insulted her by existing. I froze, couldn't even scream. My brother popped out of his hiding spot, laughing. I looked back. She was gone. After that, we didn't go in the attic anymore. We didn't even talk about it. But she wasn't done with me. That winter, I started waking up in the middle of the night, ice cold, every time my blanket had been pulled off, neatly, precisely, folded at the foot of the bed. One night, I opened my eyes and saw her again, standing at the edge of the bed. Same scowl, same silence. I didn't feel threatened, not exactly, but I knew she didn't want me there. Not in that house, not in that hospital, not on that land. We moved away not long after. They shut the hospital down, built condos on the property, but I still wonder if someone else is waking up cold, blanket gone, and that angry face watching from the shadows.
Wow. So where are you pulling this information from?
So this is a story told by a real woman who lived there as a child. And this is a storied version of what she
woman
says.
child lived there.
Well, she's a woman now.
Oh, okay.
And she tells the story of when she was a little girl.
I thought she was a woman as a child.
No, well, she was a girl.
She wasn't a woman child then, you're saying. Okay, all right.
And we will definitely talk about this in the debate for sure.
Oh, no. Come on.
Don't you want the chance to respond?
I do. I definitely do.
I was going to say.
All right, so we're going to take a short break, and when we return, I'm going to talk about the history.
Facts. From a skeptic point of view. Facts. He presents it all to you. Facts.
All right, so let's get into the pet facts.
Pet facts.
So Danvers State Hospital was originally known, and I hate this title, State Lunatic Hospital.
Oof.
Yeah. I was going to say that I was going to give a warning for trigger warnings in this. And, this is the word that they use that would be the trigger warning. There's other words that are associated sometimes with people with mental illness that they do not typically use in these kind of things, but this is one that they use. So that was at Danvers location and was situated in Danvers, specifically in Massachusetts. Its establishment was deeply influenced by the principles of Dr. Thomas Story Kirkbride, a 19th century physician who championed a very specific architectural and treatment model known as the Kirkbride plan. Who would have thought,
Yes. It is interesting. There are several of these hospitals around.
There is. This plan emphasized humane treatment, access to fresh air and natural light, and a structured therapeutic environment.
Sounds like a good plan.
So recently, there's been a meme going around, and I saw it, and it had like a view of an older hospital with the rooftop. They put like lounge chairs on it.
Oh.
And the caption was something like, back then they used to like the sunlight. I wonder why, or something like that. Because it's healthy for you, right?
Right.
Being in the sun is healthy for you. This is all great, definitely. Would you agree that being in a nice area would be helpful for you if you're having mental illness?
Yeah, if you're having issues, I think, and oftentimes a structured therapeutic environment like that sounds like that could be very helpful.
Yeah, absolutely.
And fresh air, yeah.
Yeah. Construction on the facility started in 1874 on Hawthorne Hill, a location chosen for its serene views, believed to be beneficial for the patient's well-being. The impressive Gothic revival-style building was designed by architect Nathaniel Jeremy Bradley, and we're going to talk about him, I'm sure, and officially opened its doors in 1878. The initial design aimed to accommodate approximately like 450 patients. So in our standards today, this would have been like a very intimate environment where they could really get, like maybe not one-on-one help, but they can get, they can make sure that they assign enough people to them.
Absolutely. Manageable amount.
Yeah, absolutely. The campus was envisioned as largely self-sufficient. So that meant that they had like farmland, workshops, and its own power plant, interestingly enough. The layout with its distinctive V-shape or bat wings was specifically designed to maximize the sunlight and the ventilation in the patient rooms, which was a core tenet of the Kirkbride plan. I think this starts off great, right? And it's going to continue for a little bit.
Hello, it is Ryan, and I was on a flight the other day playing one of my favorite social spin slot games on chumbacasino.com. I looked over at the person sitting next to me, and you know what they were doing? They were also playing Chumba Casino. Everybody's loving having fun with it. Chumba Casino is home to hundreds of casino-style games that you can play for free anytime, anywhere. So sign up now at chumbacasino.com to claim your free welcome bonus. That's chumbacasino.com and live the Chumba life.
Sponsored by Chumba Casino. No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 21 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
In its initial decades, Danvers operated under the moral treatment philosophy. Sounds beautiful. This was a progressive approach for the day. Who would have thought treating people morally well is a progressive approach in its time? But they emphasized kindness, respect, and a structured daily regimen that included therapeutic labor. So they had to work a little bit. But they had some recreation then. And this is where I start to disagree. Religious observations and stuff like that, they started to practice more. And I'm sure that it was one specific religion. That's where I have issue with
Sure.
that. Aiming to create a true asylum or a sanctuary. Now is when things start to turn a little bit. So you have an interesting place. Granted, if you advertise this as the, whatever religion you want, and if you advertise this as the deist hospital, that's great. Then all the deists can go there, right? But I don't think it was advertised as such,
Sure.
So that's where I have issue. So
I also want to mention too, you say create a true asylum or sanctuary. And it really is interesting that the word asylum in its basic form is a positive word, right?
Nowadays it's got a negative
you're seeking
connotation.
asylum, seeking safety,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Safety from something. But because these places kind of turned a certain way that you're going to tell us about, it kind of got this negative thing that asylum means crazy. Yeah. And it's not what that means.
Absolutely.
It's interesting.
So when we think of these kind of places, first of all, back in the day, it was only the really severely mentally ill that would probably be told to go there. Most people, or the people that had a lot of money, they were relatives of them or something. Most of the people were pretty much disabled and stuff at this time. But then, we start to get into other forms like depression and stuff like that, where it could be debilitating. You're so depressed you can't work and stuff like that. That might put you in there, and we start to get into some more common things that we would see every day, things that are easily treated with medication.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I do think that these facilities, when we're talking about, the 20th century, we are better. They're doing better than the 18th century, where just if you would have been poor,
killed, you would have been killed or you would have been put in prison.
Yeah. Or no, they might have had mental health places, but they were so bad. And then the people that were in there weren't even necessarily mentally ill.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not saying that this was perfect. If you're a woman and you had postpartum depression, you might have ended up here.
But the reason why I was starting down this path, though, is to say that the reason why we don't see as much overcrowding, this significant amount of overcrowding, is because we have medications where people can treat themselves at home.
Oh, good point.
Under the guidance of a doctor.
Sure. Good point.
So as the 20th century unfolded, Danvers, mirroring trends in similar institutions nationwide, encountered significant challenges, primarily severe overcrowding. Designed for a few hundred, the hospital's patient population swelled dramatically and at times exceeded 2,000 individuals.
And it was built for 450.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, 450 was in the middle, so they could probably have accommodated 600 maybe. That was okay, we're at max capacity now. And 2,000. So, more than 3 times what it was intended for. This surge in patient numbers inevitably strained resources and staffing, leading to a decline in the quality of care and making the ideals of moral treatment increasingly difficult to uphold.
Yeah, not everybody's going to get the fresh air when you don't have enough staff or space for that.
Also, if you feel severely overworked, it's hard for you to be kind to other people. Then,
Sure.
So during this era, psychiatric treatments were also evolving. Interventions such as hydrotherapy, introduced around 1899 at Danvers. Insulin shock therapy, used by 1946. Everyone knows this one, lobotomies, first performed at Danvers in 1948. And electroconvulsive therapy, ECT, utilized in the 1950s, were employed. While some treatments aimed to alleviate severe symptoms, many were invasive, had significant side effects, and were administered with a limited understanding of their long-term impacts. So, without doing all the research that is required, they said, yeah, these are great ideas, which on paper they might sound great, but they implement them before, like the FDA cleared them before they were ready to go.
Yeah. Okay. That makes sense.
Yeah.
And I mean, we use some version of some of these, like the electro, therapy or whatever, but it's so much smaller and more precise and more researched now.
And also when, where, and how it's done have all changed.
Like outpatient. Yeah.
So by the mid 20th century, growing public awareness, sometimes fueled by exposés about conditions within state mental hospitals, and a shifting societal understanding of mental illness began to drive change. The development of psychotropic medications in the early 1950s, such as chloropromazine, Thorazine, used at Danvers by 1955, offered new avenues for treating mental health conditions, supporting the burgeoning deinstitutionalization movement. So that's why a lot of these places have closed down since then. They had an abundance, and they were all filled to capacity. So the goal of deinstitutionalization was to transition patients from large institutions to community-based care centers. However, this movement often suffered from inadequate funding and a lack of robust community support systems. Because who would want, the crazy bin being in your neighborhood?
Well, I would argue, and we're not going to get too into it, but this is still happening.
Oh, I'm sure it is. Yeah. For Danvers, this meant a gradual reduction in its patient population through the 1960s, 70s, and 80s, and with phased ward closure starting around 1969, and most original wards abandoned by 1985. The immense cost of maintaining the aging now, massive infrastructure also contributed to the buildings falling into disrepair. Danvers State Hospital officially closed its doors on June 24th, 1992. Remaining patients were transferred to other facilities in the area or community placements, hopefully. For many years following its closure, the vast abandoned main building became a notable site for urban explorers, we're going to call them, photographers as well. And I'm sure if you look online, you'll see a lot of pictures of the abandoned Danvers.
Yes.
And those interested in the reputed paranormal associations. I guess there's rumors about stuff. Its imposing architecture and storied past fueled local legends and provided inspiration for fictional work. It is often cited as a possible inspiration for H.P. Lovecraft's Arkham Sanitarium, more directly. It served as a primary filming location for Rebecca's movie that was made in 2001. It was a horror film called Session 9. So what would be your review of Section 9?
Session 9 is 5 stars, 10 stars, whatever you want to say.
Out of 10.
Out of 10. Like, it is so scary and creepy.
Yeah.
It really...
Do you think it holds up? It's been, almost 25 years.
I've watched it, again since I first watched it, and it was just as creepy the second time.
Wow.
I mean, it's more on the supernatural side, a little bit, but also brings up...
Our listeners are not into the supernatural, so.
But it also brings in, I'll just say it's not based on any of the ghost things that I'm going to bring up today.
Okay.
But it has its own story.
Maybe it's not based on any. We're going to talk more about.
Well,
this.
We'll see. But there's a lot of anyways, just so creepy. And I will say, can I read a quote from the star of the movie?
Yeah.
And, I don't think to me he's saying this place is haunted. He's just talking about the spooky. When asked about filming session 9 at Danvers State Hospital, David Caruso, who you may remember from TV, he was down in Miami. He was he would wow when he put on his glasses. I can't remember the name of the TV show.
He did what?
Yeah. The listeners right now are
meow. Meow, and put on glasses.
That was the song. Anyway, we'll figure it out. I'll remember. Anyways, he said it was a place you never got comfortable in. It wasn't like day 3 and we were throwing water balloons because it was so much fun to be there. It was always scary. You can really feel the pain of the people that went through Danvers. It's a rough environment. It's not fun. It's on the film. They didn't have to dress any sets or anything. All of that stuff was sitting there. The federal government walked away from it about 30 years ago. It was a terrifying location. Wow.
So, yeah, I wish the place was still standing and still there because I would love to have that water balloon fight there. Can you imagine that? A paranormal water balloon fight.
Yeah.
So after years of abandonment, the Danvers State Hospital property was sold to a developer, Avalon Bay Communities, in 2005. The plan was to redevelop the site into residential apartments, because what could be wrong with that? This redevelopment involved the demolition of a significant portion of the original structure in 2007. However, efforts were made to preserve key historical elements. The iconic Kirkbride facade and the central administration section of the main building were retained and integrated into the new apartment complex. The new residential complex, Avalon Danvers, opened to residents thereafter. The legacy of Danvers State Hospital is multifaceted. It stands as a physical reminder of both the well-intentioned aspirations of early mental health care reforms and the significant shortcomings and ethical challenges associated with institutional care, particularly during periods of overcrowding and evolving treatment methodologies. Mm-hmm. So basically what I am kind of saying to this is sometimes great ideas happen at wrong times. And had this had happened today, and they're like, yes, we'd like to make these institutions that are more pretty for people to be in, and they can breathe fresh air and get some exercise outside, I think that would be a great place. And a lot of these places do have, they're nice, they feel very peaceful, and like the modern places,
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's a great idea at the wrong time.
Yeah. And again, almost just making it too big of a scale, in order to really handle the ideas of it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. By the way, it was CSI Miami. I knew it was Miami. I don't know. In my mind, I was thinking CSI, but then I questioned myself.
Okay.
But yeah. But no, there's a whole scene where he puts on his sunglasses and he's always like, blah, blah, blah. Anyway.
Okay. So he went, meow, and then he went, blah,
no,
blah, blah.
The music goes, pow. It's like a scream. It's really,
okay.
The listeners that know, and if you don't know, look it up.
If
David
you know,
Caruso.
you know.
Anyways, but he's good in the movie. It's a scary movie. I strongly recommend it. And
Okay.
actually, after doing this episode, now I really want to go watch it.
Okay. Do you have anything to add to this particular history?
Just that it is, when you are thinking in your mind, when someone says abandoned asylum, right? Old time asylum.
Yeah.
This is the place you're picturing.
Okay.
This is what when you look at the pictures online of that were taken of it before they transformed it, it was that's exactly what you're picturing. Is when you're on a program on the internet and you're looking up picture of abandoned asylum, it's likely a picture from Danvers because that's what it is.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So I think that's the history, and I'm sticking with it. We're going to take a short break, and when we return, I guess we'll do a little debating.
Yes.
All right. All right, Rebecca, it's time for a debate.
All right, let's do this.
All right, let's do it.
All right, let's start with the story that I told in the beginning.
Okay.
So we're going to talk about the ghost seen by Geraldine Levasseur, who was the daughter of the former hospital administrator. And, I don't know exactly the years, but it makes sense that when she was there, it was probably in the 70s, 80s. She talks about that it was, wasn't super crowded or busy because they were, slowly closing things down. But it was still open.
Yeah.
And so she said, as a child living on the grounds, that she and her siblings played in the attic until one day they saw an elderly woman glaring at them from the shadows. After that, the attic became off limits. They didn't want to be there. But the ghost, as it happened in the story, didn't stay in the attic. Geraldine later recalled waking up in the middle of the night, blankets being pulled slowly off her body by an unseen force, only to see the same scowling woman standing by her bed.
I see.
And she said that she didn't necessarily feel threatened, like the woman was going to attack her, but just, again, unwanted and disturbed by the...
Ryan Seacrest here. When you have a busy schedule, it's important to maximize your downtime. One of the best ways to do that is by going to ChumbaCasino.com. Chumba Casino has all your favorite social casino games like spin slots, bingo, and solitaire that you can play for free for a chance to redeem some serious prizes. So hop on to ChumbaCasino.com now and live the Chumba life. Sponsored by Chumba Casino.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 21 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
Okay. So there's a couple of words that, like, to me would be like, not red flags, but they would be like, oh, look at this, look at this, look at that, investigate these things more. So I think that this is just a anecdotal childhood memory. To sum it up, childhood memories, while vivid, are not always reliable, right? I have some memories as a child that I'm pretty sure didn't happen the way that I'm envisioning them happening. You think you have any like that?
I do, but ones that are true, like are more traumatic, I think do get burned in our memories a bit more accurately.
Sure, but even then I believe that they can be influenced by imagination, dreams, or misinterpretations that are common in childhood. Like the elderly woman scowling could have been a misinterpretation of shadows, objects stored in the attic, especially the attic. When I heard that, I was like, okay, how many kids are afraid of the basement or the attic?
Pretty much
Oftentimes,
everybody.
yeah, exactly. I think I still...
But they weren't. They played up there, but yeah.
But I think I'm still a little bit afraid of basements, Or it could have even been a dream that became incorporated into memory, that she all of a sudden shifted and made that be like, well, this happened. Because if you talk about it enough, it becomes your reality then. The details of covers being pulled off the bed can also be explained by normal occurrences like slipping covers. I have a bed sheet that every night it falls off, and every day I have to put that back on. And I don't know what I'm doing in the middle of the night. I'm thrashing around, I guess. But imagine all of this interpreted through a child's fearful lens. It could be huge. So I'm going to have to give this one a 0.
All right. For me, I think because she saw it twice, and her siblings also either saw it or very much believed her, and they stopped playing in the attic, a place that they liked to play previously, it means a lot. Gives it some believability. And as far as waking up and seeing your covers being pulled down, that is not uncommon, right? That is a ghostly thing that adults and children see. And I think that is quite different from waking up and seeing that your blankets have been moved, like again, presumably by you over the night, versus waking up and literally they are being pulled down your body and you aren't doing anything. That sounds terrible.
I know, but it's coming from an adult speaking through a childhood memory. So that to me, there's a lot of time in that you could evolve a story.
Again, to me, it seems like it's a core memory and one that she remembers well. So I'm going to give it an 8.
Okay.
All right. How about the next one here? So after the asylum closed in 1992, paranormal investigators, you alluded to this, flooded the site, right? Because it was kind of abandoned and, it was just sitting there. And it didn't take long before they started to capture electronic voice phenomenon or EVPs. And so here are some of the recordings that they made. Our voices clearly saying, "I live here and I am warning you." And these weren't isolated incidents. Investigators also recorded moaning, weeping, loud bangs echoing through the halls. And even after demolition, residents in the new apartments built on the site still report hearing screams at night. And, the police respond and they don't find anything.
Okay.
So investigators, while it was standing, and then it depends too. I think some of them were torn down, some of them were repurposed to the buildings.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So some of the biggest names in paranormal research would agree that EVPs are highly controversial. Skeptics argue that they are often the result of auditory pareidolia, right? Which is interpreting random noises as speech. Radio frequencies, interference, or even subtle noises from the recording equipment or the environment, like breathing, stomach rumbles, or distant sounds. The process of isolating and amplifying faint sounds can easily lead to misinterpretations, especially when investigators are actively hoping to find evidence. So they're going into it with an idea that something is there. Without rigorous controlled conditions, EVP evidence is highly unreliable. I'm gonna have to go 0 on this one again.
All right. To me, this is a big one. I think this is about right. I think I'm gonna give it a 7 for this one because it's not necessarily that there's like a floating figure, though we'll keep talking about that. But the idea that this was a site with a lot of negative energy that was part of it. That it might have echoes of voices and echoes of sounds makes sense to me.
But sometimes people could mishear things, right? So I want to talk about a certain song lyric that's come up recently.
Come on now.
So what is the name of the song? The one, This Ain't a Scene.
I think it's called This Ain't a Scene. It's an arms race. I think that's the name of it. I'm not sure.
Well, what is it that you thought they said after the chorus?
I thought he was saying, "I'm an Armenian man," which I thought was really weird that he would say he's Armenian, but it's not what he's saying.
No, he's saying, "I'm a lead man," and
leading man.
Leading man. And it's interesting that you hear that though. So I'm just saying. Have you ever listened to like an EVP that someone told you what they were saying and then you heard that perfectly, but until you were told what they were saying, you didn't hear it?
Oh, I mean, that is one of the tests that I do is if I'm listening to an EVP, I try to close my eyes and not watch it because
But how often do you peek though when you close your eyes?
No, I really do. For the sake of Ghostly, I try
for the
not
sake
to.
of Ghostly.
Yes.
Okay. Well, for the sake of Ghostly, I'm still giving it a 0.
Okay.
So.
All right. Let's move on. And we're going to talk about the ghost of our Kirkbride, Thomas Kirkbride.
Okay.
It was built using the Kirkbride plan, which, like some people say is a little bit controversial, right? That supposedly, I mean, if you think about it, the whole design of this, it wasn't just all based on like a perfect, like, okay, we're going to have an open space and we're going to have this. It was also like a very specific, like if it's designed in this exact way, like something about that is going to help people. Still, there's a little bit spookiness to it. But then part of it too was that underneath were underground tunnels to help make it quicker for people to get from facility to facility.
Yeah.
And also used to move patients out of public view. And so supposedly multiple former employees and paranormal teams have reported seeing a floating apparition believed to be Kirkbride himself roaming the tunnels, perhaps inspecting his legacy or haunted by it.
I don't even know if Kirkbride was ever on the property, though, proper.
I don't know. I think this is one of his like first ones. I don't know, but that's.
I mean, I'm willing to say he could have been.
But this is the tunnels. People think the tunnels are haunted.
Yeah. And okay, I'm going to agree with you on one aspect of this. Tunnels are creepy, right? Mm-hmm. Because they're dark and they're disorientating, right? Whenever I've been, if I will do a lot for Ghostly. I would, I've sat in a prison, in the basement of the prison, in a room I've sat on a bucket with sensory deprivation tools hooked up to me, like headphones and blindfold and I don't remember what else, but all my senses were completely
Am I telling?
blocked.
Are we telling the truth about this story?
Well, the truth is that they weren't, but I was willing to do that and willing to go into it and say, okay, let's experience this. Now, it just so happened that the person that did it left a little gap for me to see, and I could see shadows, okay? I couldn't actually see people. I couldn't make out faces, so I didn't know what the expression was, but I could see people and their movements. So, and this person messed with me the whole time.
And you chose not to say anything.
But that is something, I mean, would you have done that? Would you have done sensory deprivation?
I mean, maybe, but I'd be freaked out.
In that particular prison?
I had some stuff happen. If you guys want to go back and listen to the Crown Point jail episode.
Yeah. So anyways, tunnels are just, they are really creepy. And when I see a tunnel, I'm like, oh my God, I get really scared. The underground idea to me scares me because things could collapse, right? That's what scares me the most. And also that they echo and they could be damp. I don't like damp environments. Oftentimes the air can be restricted too because you're underground. So in itself, it's not the freshest air. Mm-hmm. It usually isn't it doesn't have a nice chill to it, all of which these things can contribute to feelings of uneasy and sensory misinterpretations again. The idea of Dr. Kirkbride's ghost haunting them is a narrative embellishment. Why would he specifically haunt the tunnels of this particular place? Did he invent the tunnels? No. He invented a methodology. It's more likely that the tunnels, being a particularly weird place in the complex, became a focus for ghost stories then. And people started telling more ghost stories, and then you have that it is creepy, and it is dark, and it is disorientating. That's where I'm having issue with this. So I'm going to give this a 0.
This one is one of the weaker ones for me, just because it is, tunnels are definitely creepy. The floating apparition, I'm not sure, and I don't know that we have any proof that it is Kirkbride. I'm sure that the tunnels are creepy. It's very possible there's maybe some paranormally things down there, but I feel like more likely there's kind of some of the other places where that would be. So for me, this one's a 5. It's possible, but I'm not convinced.
Okay.
Yeah. All right, let's move on. We're going to go way back.
Hello, it is Ryan, and we could all use an extra bright spot in our day, couldn't we? Just to make up for things like sitting in traffic, doing the dishes, counting your steps, all the mundane stuff. That is why I'm such a big fan of Chumba Casino. Chumba Casino has all your favorite social casino-style games that you can play for free anytime, anywhere with daily bonuses. So sign up now at ChumbaCasino.com. That's ChumbaCasino.com.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 21 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
We're going to go in the Wayback Machine?
We're going to go in the Wayback Machine to a previous episode of ours. I kept seeing this come up when I was searching, and I was like, what is the connection here? Before Danvers State Hospital existed, long before, the land held another legacy.
Oh, yeah.
Judge John Hawthorne, one of the most infamous figures of the Salem Witch Trials.
Yes, absolutely. I remember him well.
Yes, he lived on this very property.
Yeah.
The same land that condemned innocents to death later bore witness to decades of psychological abuse and human suffering.
Yes.
No, I had no idea that there was any connection to the Salem Witch Trials in Danvers, but I guess they're pretty close.
Yeah.
So this is where we get.
I've actually been through this area.
Oh,
too.
okay.
Yeah. So I don't remember any of it because there were mountains coming, and I get scared with mountains. So if you want to scare me, put me in a physical location like mountains and have me driving.
Or underground. Okay.
Or underground, and I will scream like a little girl.
Okay.
I will.
You just like to be on the regular ground.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Keep me on the regular ground. Put me around windows, and I'm good,
So this is where we are starting to connect to the cemetery.
Bum, bum,
Bum,
bum.
bum, bum. So the idea is that where the judge lived, as well as there is a cemetery there, which we've seen this before, right? There were a lot of patients that they didn't know who they were, or people never came to claim the body. They believe there's over 770 patients buried in the cemetery. They often don't have names. They just have numbers on their little, stones that they have. And there are reports of disembodied voices and even disembodied voices. I know you love it. And even some full body apparitions in the area of the cemetery, which again could be related back to what Judge John Hawthorne did, or I think more likely connected to the unrest from the dead buried there.
Okay, so we have a couple different things going on here. So you actually slipped in 2 ghost stories into this one, not knowing you did it, but you did. So while it's true, John Hawthorne lived on the land that later became part of the hospital grounds. I will say that is true. And the legend has it that he's attributed this dark energy or curse to the land due to events centuries prior to its narrative.
Yes.
There's no scientific basis for land retaining negative energy from past events that then influence the future occurrences. This connection is more of a compelling historical footnote that adds to the site's mystique rather than evidence of a supernatural link. The hospital's own tragic history is more than compelling enough to say that there might be something there than to bring up John Hawthorne from centuries before that. And so we talked about the shadow figures and the apparitions and stuff like that. So that could be us seeing things that aren't there, our human eye, causing things to occur that aren't really there. So the brain has a tendency to see familiar shapes, like human figures. And we see this out of patterns of light and shadow. Poor lighting, reflections, dust happening, insects, or even one's own shadow can be misinterpreted, particularly in a place known for ghost stories. Fatigue, stress, and the power of suggestion can also lead to misinterpretations of visual stimuli. So remember, we've talked about in the past that you could go through a whole paranormal investigation. Are those paranormal investigations taxing on you, do you find? Like when you've been on them?
Me personally, yes, but that's why I don't do them. The people that do them love them and get very energized by them.
But I mean, I'm just saying that they are tiresome, and usually the stuff that happens is late in the evening, like after we leave those particular locations, because I'm not sticking around till 3 a.m. unless you're paying me to spend the night there. If you pay me to spend the night there, I will spend the whole night there happily, and I will have my iPad and I'll watch some movies, and I'll make a whole night out of it.
No, what if you have to investigate the whole night?
I'm not an investigator though, so that would be difficult. But it's a particular common claim in many haunted locations and are easily explained by tricks of light and perception. So I'm going to go 0 on this one too, Rebecca. I'm sorry.
So I don't think that it's inappropriate to bring up the Salem Witch Trials and this judge who had dark energy, who lived there, because to me, we are often talking about, kind of like, well, how many? okay, there were two very dark things that happened on this particular piece of property.
Whoa, that was not a dark thing. He just lived there.
Yeah, but he had a dark mind, and who knows what he was doing in his home. I don't want to know what kind of horrible things that man did. I'm not gonna,
Maybe he's cooking dinner.
It is Ryan Seacrest here. There was a recent social media trend which consisted of flying on a plane with no music, no movies, no entertainment. But a better trend would be going to ChumbaCasino.com. It's like having a mini social casino in your pocket. Chumba Casino has over 100 online casino-style games, all absolutely free. It's the most fun you can have online and on a plane. So grab your free welcome bonus now at ChumbaCasino.com. Sponsored by Chumba Casino.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 21 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
I'm just saying.
But also we have, people that are, that weren't named, weren't claimed. So, I get it. And the disembodied voices, oftentimes they don't show up in recordings until after the investigation, but you and I have both experienced a legit disembodied voice. And it does happen. So, anyway, for me, this one is a 7.
Okay, 0 again. Yeah.
All right, let's go to the last one. I mentioned a mysterious fire.
Ooh,
let's
mysterious
talk about the fire of 2007.
Yes.
So a development company had been figuring out and converting the last part of Danvers into an upscale apartment building. But in the middle of the night, a fire broke out so massive that it could be seen from Boston over 20 miles away. There was a webcam that was monitoring the construction site that mysteriously cut out just before the blaze started. No culprit was ever found, and some believe that it was a warning from the ghost of Danvers. Leave this place alone.
The ghost of Danvers now. Okay, so I'm going to say that as much as you believe it could be paranormal, if we were talking to some true crime people, they might say that could have been arson. Somebody could have set that fire and made the cameras turn off. That seems a lot more plausible and happens a lot more often, especially for tax reasons or for insurance money.
Well, I'm actually I'm gonna break in and just say that I kind of agree with you on this.
Yeah.
One. I don't think the ghosts broke the webcam. It's much more likely. There were also people protesting. They wanted to keep this as a historical site.
Yeah.
So it could have been them, but money's a real strong motivator for people.
So I want to do a little plug for book club here.
Oh, yes.
In one of our books, we read about a disembodied person that was in the closet that had a match, right?
Oh, yeah.
And what did it do? It kept trying to light the match, but did it ever light it?
No.
No, because you can't light it. Ghost can't light matches.
Well, it's because they were killed before they could light it, but yeah.
Yeah, so I'm just going to say, if you want to find out more about that, we have a book club coming up sometime in July.
We do. I'm going to be sending out an invitation to that this week. And so if you're not in book club yet, go and fill out the form online.
What is the book called again? Is it This is Haunted?
This House is Haunted, I believe.
This House is Haunted by John Boyne. Does that make sense? I'm going to look it up.
Sounds right.
Or do you want to look it up real quick?
Sure.
So I'm going to give it a 0 for this one.
Yeah, and I'll give it a 2 just to give it something. But to me, this is less likely than some of the others out there.
Okay, before you start looking up the book information, what is your overall rating?
So I have this 1 0. I have a 5. But then I also had...
Well, you have a 2. You don't have a 0.
Oh, sorry. 2, a 5.
I mean, unless you want to make it
I have
0.
a couple 7s and an 8. So I'm going to go 6.
6, okay.
Yeah.
That's a little higher. I thought you were going to go 5.
No. Definitely a 6. Because the strong ones are strong.
I'm going to have to give it a solid 0 for this one. So that brings us to the closing arguments. This is our last chance to convince you to vote our way. We are each given 1 minute of uninterrupted time. We will time each other on Ghostly Studio timer
Ghostly Studio.
Keep everyone named Rebecca honest. Rebecca, are you ready to do this? Or do you want to find that name of the book first?
I feel like I'm close, so
Okay.
but that's okay. No, we can go ahead. Let's go ahead.
Rebecca, your time starts now.
All right. So I do believe that there is some spookiness happening at the Danvers State Hospital grounds. Now, I do think that over the years, it's probably dissipated some because, as the buildings have been torn down and repurposed, it does kind of, make things a little more difficult, maybe for the spirits to come through. But I definitely think that it has been haunted in the past. And I do think that there are still reports from the apartments, from the cemetery, of people hearing and seeing some spooky stuff. And so for me, there was just a lot of really scary things that happened to people there. And I think that emotion is hard to get rid of. There you go.
Well, you would have ran out of time if you would have went another couple seconds. So, okay. Well, I am going to go now. As always, I don't know if people realize this. I do not go off of your closing arguments at all. I try not to pay attention to them much because I can't say anything about it. So I don't want to hear it, All right. I'm going to start the timer in 3 seconds. Okay, look. This place is unsettling. It's Gothic Revival building designed by Nathaniel J. Bradley. It opened in 1878, so it's old. It saw everything from moral treatment to severe overcrowding. We're talking over 2,000 souls in a place built for 450 people. Any structure that's seen that much history, not to mention questionable 1950s therapy, is bound to have some creaks, groans, and drafts. Those chilling whispers, probably the wind whipping around those iconic Kirkbride wings, or maybe just the settling of a building that's been standing since before your great-grandfather learned to ride a bicycle. And the shadowy figures, ever try navigating an old, massive, dimly lit building? Your imagination will do more haunting than any actual ghost. The only spirits at Danvers are the historical kind, not ghosts at all. The ones that remind us of a complex past. The rest, well, that's just good old-fashioned atmosphere, folks.
Pat went over the minute. This is what happens when you try to pre-write your thing and make it all fancy. I did pre-write this, yeah. And then you run out of time. You didn't time it out.
I didn't because I added some stuff into it.
That's why I go with my just gut.
I have not written a closing argument in probably 3 or 4 years.
Yeah. No, you really don't typically.
No, this one I was like, you know what? I'm going to try to lay out my thoughts because I accidentally stumbled on some of the haunted history. So I knew some of the stories before going into this, folks. I'm sorry. But don't let your friends miss out on the chills. Share Ghostly with them and help us grow this community of paranormal enthusiasts. The more people that listen to the show, the more people you could talk to about the show, the more people you can debate with. Your support means the world to us. Shout out to our VIP producers who make this all possible. We have Andrew,
Alicia,
Becky,
Cindy,
Kevin,
Jessica,
Alice,
Aaron,
and Hope. Is it real? You be the judge. Share your verdict at ghostlypodcast.com poll section and let the debate continue. Subscribe to Ghostly now and get ready for more spine-tingling encounters with the unknown. On the next episode of Ghostly, what are we going to be talking about, Rebecca?
So it turns out I didn't plan this. It just kind of worked out this way because of our VIP Patreon suggestion. Thank
you, Andrew, by the way.
Thank you so much. June is Asylum month. So coming up next is going to be Asylum 49 in Utah. Ooh. And it comes out on June 18th.
But I didn't read Asylum 48. Am I going to be lost?
I hope not. I don't know. Real quick, too, the book club book is called This House is Haunted, and it's by John Boyne. It's very much reminds me of reading the description of The Others, if you're someone that liked that movie. It's a creepy, fun time. Even if you're just reading the book, that's great. But if you want to join us, we usually do a live Zoom where people can come in and chat about the book with us, and we love if you join us. And we just chat
in general, too.
Yeah.
Now, is this one of those hoity-toity wine book clubs that you have to have wine and eat cheese and stuff while we do it?
But you're kind of in your own home, so it might be a little weird. But you could if you wanted to. We don't typically, but you could.
Now, what level of English mastery will they need in order to be part of this book club?
Just need to be able to read.
Okay.
Yeah.
Or have the story read to you by Audible. We always pick books that are on Audible.
We always pick books on Audible because that's what I really have time for.
We should have an affiliate link to Audible, but I don't right now. But yeah, so this book is for everyone, or this book club. We just have a good time. We like to laugh. We like to joke around. We've gotten to know these people that are in our book club pretty well. Sometimes we have a lot of people, sometimes not many. So, but we would love to have you. Yeah. We wanted to have a time when we could do like a breakout room too, where you could have small little groups, but it's not that many people. So, come join us, have some fun, get to know us personally. I would love to get to know each and every one of our listeners. Because you guys make the show.
Absolutely. And if you go to ghostlypodcast.com/book club, you'll be able to fill out a form and you'll start getting some emails.
Or maybe you can post it on the socials when this episode comes out.
Yeah, I can do that.
All right. Until next time, stay ghostly.
Bye.
Step into the world of power, loyalty, and luck.
I'm gonna make him an offer he can't refuse.
With family, cannolis, and spins mean everything.
Now, you wanna get mixed up in the family business.
Introducing The Godfather at ChumbaCasino.com. Test your luck in the shadowy world of The Godfather slot.
Someday, I will call upon you to do a service for me.
Play The Godfather now at ChumbaCasino.com.
Welcome to the family.